I like to stay away from theoretical. I like to stay away from assumption, speculation. Wow. Wow, I didn't see that. Wow, they're just leveling us right now, huh? Holy shit. Look, there's nothing coming out of that plane. But there's stuff coming out of that plane. Plane that was right there a minute ago didn't leave anything, but there's nothing coming out of that plane right there. There's nothing coming out of that plane. Nothing coming out of that plane. Franken skies had blanket lies, but there's nothing coming out of that plane. Oh yeah, good stuff. Free download, www.the-bilderberg, bilderberg-group.com. The link is in the description, after the fact, of course. But I think I stumbled across something that's really big when it comes to the whole... I mean, I guess it's just the whole picture. It's not just one thing in particular. Because the proof that I'm talking about is in places you're not really looking, like 9/11, like the trees. I think the trees are something that we haven't put enough thought into. So like this tree. This tree, that tree, that tree, those trees over there. I assume that they were put in when the neighborhood was built. Some in the 40s, in the 50s, maybe 50s. And so that means in the 50 years that they've existed, they've gotten this big. Now, I can tell you for a fact that all of these trees around here have grown significantly in the 10 years that we've been here. Okay? If you look at, you can literally go anywhere. The trees get to around this size, around this height, and then they get bigger. You know, they're wider than this, but some of these trees are actually pretty significant. And really, I think about it, they've cut down a lot of the biggest ones since we've been here. Because, again, they just, like, look at what that thing's done to the easement right there. It's just these things are wreaking havoc on the pipe structures below, that, especially considering they're supposed to be clay pipes underneath. So seems like a pretty dangerous situation, actually. But when you look at the size of the trees, and you can literally go anywhere. You can go, like, my wife and I agree that this whole area was leveled in the 50s or whatever to build these houses. So all the trees that you see are going to be around the same age and size. But if you go to, like, any place that's supposedly an older forest, you're going to see the same shit. What's up, Matt? You're going to see trees about the same size. So basically, especially according to the way that you can date trees, all the trees are around the same age, same size. The biggest forests that weren't developed, they're not full of huge 700-year-old trees. For some reason, there aren't those forests. There should be hundreds of years old trees just everywhere. It's not like trees get to be 100 and then they die. Trees will exist as long as, you know, the system is there to feed them. Human span last year, holy, can't believe that one guy compared being transgender to gay to being, yeah. We know we can't talk about that with you, Matt. You get upset. But this whole thing is I know I'm onto something with the trees thing. I'm trying to put the connection together, and I'm sure I will. And I've seen the ancient "There Are No Forests" videos, and or that one video with that just disappeared. It was this huge video. It was super viral, and then it just disappeared. That you know, the no mountains. Those are all old tree remnants and shit or whatever. You remember that video? Super. There you go. We all saw that video. So where are all the trees from, you know, the 1200s and the 1500s, and where are these forests? I mean, you can go to Canada, right? Canada is just a whole bunch of supposedly undeveloped forest. Read the book Hatchet. I read that book when I was a kid. It's all just wilderness, and it's been that same wilderness for such a long time, and yet there aren't all these old growth trees there. What the hell happened? Where are they? You can't tell me everything's burnt down all at the same time around and all over the world. There was, you know, I know we have the story of the city fires, which is going into my next point, right? The fire narrative that we're given. I think 9/11, and by proxy, the Empire State Building, completely destroy that story. I mean, it's stupid to begin with. The idea of a cow kicks over a lantern, starts a fire, you know, burns down all of Chicago, and 300 people die in the middle of the night. Like, the narratives are just dumb as shit. And My Lunch Break and Lucius Aurelius and those guys actually do put in, you know, they've put in much more time, effort, energy, labor. You know, they have some really great videos. Jared Booster's another person, really great videos showing the old world footage, the before and after the fire stories, and then breaking them down. My Lunch Break did a great video on the total casualties of the fire scenarios that we've been given. And the number of buildings that were destroyed is like 20,000 buildings, and like 500 people were killed. Somehow in all of these ancient stories, you know, these entire cities were able to evacuate lickety-split, no problem, overnight. Sequoia is the only 400-plus-year-old forest I know of. And we know that there was a huge campaign in the late 18s, early 19s, of which, surprisingly, there's tons of pictures of that shit. No pictures of Civil War, no pictures of construction buildings, construction of these monumental buildings that still exist. None of that shit, but people were out there taking pictures of them cutting down trees and shit left and right. Large groups of people standing on those trees. We can't even imagine what those trees look like. So they did destroy those forests, and they weren't even good trees for paper. Wow, another north to south. Dude, now I'm scared. They never do north to south. North to south is a whole different ballgame, people. Literally, 95% of the chemtrails I've ever seen go west to east. All day long, west to east. And it's because east of here, about 40 miles, there's Selfridge Air Force Base. So it makes sense. Who the fuck was that? What plane left that? I don't see the plane. The plane. But they like I say, 90% go west to east. 4% or so go east to west. And then 1% ever, since I've been here, go north and south. And yet, I've seen 2 of them today. That's just wild to me. You know, the totally normal, natural thing that planes do sometimes. That's totally not stratospheric aerosol injection or marine cloud brightening or cloud seeding or anything like that. It's stupid. You're a conspiracy theorist. Shut up. Go believe in Jesus. But I think when we look at 9/11, and I saw this video today that talked about the most solid, sturdy building ever created was the World Trade Center. The idea that a plane brought down the most solid building ever created. And by all measures, what should have happened is the aluminum plane smashed into the building and fell off. Very little damage. Broken windows, maybe a little structural damage or whatever, but that's about it. Nothing should have happened to that building. But somehow, twice, 2 planes brought down the sturdiest buildings we were capable of building. Yet, in the early 1900s, a plane crashed into the Empire State Building. It was a smaller plane, but it still crashed into the Empire State Building and did nothing. Nothing. It made some fires, you know, put out the fires, and shit went back to normal. Which shows you that those buildings that are around today in every downtown you go to, all over Europe, you know, all over everywhere. I mean, literally, they are just fucking everywhere. None of them are falling apart. None of the cathedrals, the 1,000-year-old cathedrals, 1,000-year-old castles, none of that shit's falling apart. All it ever needs is a decent cleaning and it looks brand new. That's what they were capable of building. Stuff that's still around all this time later without any sort of interference, without any need for updates. They say they do shit, but they don't. They put up some scaffolding so they can clean it. And when they do make repairs, it's obvious because we just don't have the tech to be able to make the same repairs. Or if we do, it's because there's like this artisan who takes like, you know, a year to build the thing that's the small little replacement statue or whatever. But it brings into question the fire narratives that we're given, that exist in all the major cities around the same time. You know, the Great Chicago Fire happened at the same time a fire was happening in Minneapolis, I think, or in Minnesota. Minnesota, Wisconsin, something like that. I don't remember which one it is. Maybe it's Wisconsin. Like these fire narratives that exist that don't kill anybody but completely destroy cities. Go look at any of the photographic evidence that exists showing, you know, it looks like Palestine. Literally, it looks like Gaza. Anytime you see one of those old world cities after the fire story, it looks like Gaza does today. You know, concrete, marble, granite, you know, stone buildings. These buildings aren't made of wood. These are stone structures with I don't even know about interior of steel. I think they're just stone and they're just marble. These old buildings are just made of stone. Stone doesn't burn down, like my lunch break always says. That's why you put stone around your fucking chimney. You don't worry about your house burning down because you have a fire in your fireplace. The stone absorbs the heat and transfers it, but it doesn't catch fire. They tore down the World's Fairs because they didn't get permits. Yeah. What's crazy is how, all of this Tartaria stuff really started coming out when everybody from that time was dead. I couldn't, if this would have come out when I was a kid, I could have asked my great-grandparents about what life was like back then. Did they see those World's Fairs? Did they see any of the construction? But all of those people are dead. My grandmother was born in 29, so even if, when do you think she comes online memory-wise? She might have small memories from when she was a child, but for the most part, I would imagine it's 9, 10 years old when you really start remembering things. Karen, what's going on? Brother! Nice one, brother. Jesus Christ died for your sins. Jesus, man, these people are so stupid. It's amazing how stupid these people are. – 9/11 was a demolition. Yeah, but it wasn't what we think it was. I'm in the Judy Wood camp. I think there was a technology used that we're not aware of. I think if you don't know who Dr. Judy Wood is, you really need to check that out. She does this great symposium. She does this great presentation on, it's called Where Did the Towers Go? And she points out shit that gets overlooked in every other diagnosis. She points out the frothing effect. She points out that all this concrete and steel seemed to basically evaporate and turn to dust. She said because there was no term for it, she had to create the term, and she called it dustification, because this hadn't been seen or witnessed before. And then she also has this, I wonder. Nope. That's funny. I put Judy Wood in, and it brings me to a book called Saint Judy for some reason. Nope. She doesn't even have a Wikipedia page. Really interesting. It doesn't catch fire, but it can crack and shatter from heat affecting it. Yeah, sure it can. Yep. All these buildings cracked and shattered from the tremendous heat of the cow kicking over the lamp. And it was all so hot that it's cracking and shattering these buildings made of stone. But if you look in all the pictures, the telephone wires are still there. The telephone poles are still there. The trees are still there. How is this raging inferno so hot that it destroyed an entire city but left the trees alone? Look at these dumb fucking comments, man. It's so weird. It's just so weird how desperate these people are to prove their stupidity. It's not like they're attempting to prove me wrong. All it seems like if they were trying to prove that they were just stupid, they would be doing a great job. Stupid and obsessed. It's such a weird combination. But I guess it's what all famous people deal with. I don't know what else to call it. But again, I think we have to smarten up about all this shit. We have to look at this shit more realistically. Imagine thinking we live on a ball. I know what it's like to think we live on a ball. I remember thinking that way. And looking back on it, it's embarrassing, like, that I could have ever been so stupid. Because it's such a stupid theory. It's all just so, it's so ridiculous. And what's crazy is, like, people think about it like it's not ridiculous, right? Like, you just like, yeah, we live in a nothing, in a vacuum, big empty vacuum, where balls revolve around balls of fire, and you know, they spin and they revolve and they spin and all this shit happens. The comets and rocks falling from space and all kinds of shit. Like, it's all just really stupid. And sure, they've done a good job to like create a narrative sort of to validate that, but then everything you've ever seen that does that, it doesn't work. You know, how do you have, and how do, like, the guy from Balls Out Physics, Brian Mullen, you really want to get your mind blown, go look up my previous videos on Brian Mullen. I actually brought Brian Mullen out of hiding. He actually came out of hiding to respond to me, and it wasn't even a big fucking deal. That's the craziest part. In this world this small conspiracy world we live in, Brian Mullen coming out and directly addressing my efforts, like, it's just shocking. The website that existed for the company Airte, Arteen Engineers, head by a J. You know, the whole scenario was so fucked up, but that they had a website that existed and looked the exact same for a decade, maybe? Nah, 6-8 years? 6 years? I don't know. I bring Brian Mullen out of hiding, and the next day they changed the pictures on their website for the first time ever. Karen said she was booted off 4 times already. Is that what happens when you guys watch people's feeds? You get kicked off of them? Go to the edge. Like, the thing, again, this is one of those things that's just so amazing to me, how stupid people are. Do you understand that there's something called the Antarctic Treaty? And it's something where all of the nations of the world who don't agree with each other on anything, you know, I mean, they do in some cases, but there are some things where certain countries just, they don't agree on anything. It's a conflict. And yet when it comes to Antarctica and keeping average everyday goyim out of there, they all agree we shouldn't be there. We shouldn't be able to explore it. We shouldn't be able to, you know, use, if you can amass a large amount of wealth, you could buy yourself a ship and fit it to be able to handle an environment that is, you know, treacherous and whatnot. that you're not allowed to. That there are documented cases of supposedly in the early 19s, late 18s of people trying to circumnavigate Antarctica and traveling 60,000 miles without having come back around. Something didn't work. Something didn't add up. But the whole, stereotypical, well then go to the edge. Go to the edge. Like, go look up ice wall. There are plenty of pictures of it. But see, I find myself in the same position I'm always in, which is arguing with arrogance. And that's generally what most people's only real weapon is. You can go to Antarctica. No, you can't. Putin, Nelly, the elephant are off there to Trump. I don't know. Exactly, the ice wall is 20 miles high. People are too stupid to research. I mean, it's... I don't think it's 20 miles high. That's pretty significant. But there might be some places, but it's not 20 miles high, but it's significant. There are places where you can see like the giant icebreaker vessel that's down there next to the wall, and the wall makes the icebreaker look like a little tugboat. 20 miles is pretty significant. But it doesn't even matter. It's like, we're never going to go. You're never going to be allowed to go to Antarctica. So wrong. There is no ice wall. Yep, there's no ice wall. Oh. Yeah, that's not a thing. Yeah, that's not a thing. It's a good thing there's no pictures of the ice wall anywhere. Me just making shit up. What the fuck? That was weird. There you go. That's so much bigger than you think it is. And how about the Piri Reis map? What the fuck? Here's a picture. It's an older picture too. Yep, totally makes sense. Here's one. Snow count. It is he who sits above the circle of earth and inhabits like grasshoppers. Come on, man. Just fucking goofy ass religious shit. It's there, period. Why? What function does it serve? Right? I mean, it's just these are just only icebergs akin to mountainous regions. You know, it really just does come down to like, just like with everything else, it's arrogance and chosen belief. You choose what you believe because it's what makes you feel better. You know, you don't have any reason to believe it. And this is one of my best arguments, right? Because at the end of the day, how many of you believe Oswald shot Kennedy? Stop bitching. God. I have no idea what you're talking about. It's not painful at all. That old people muscle pull. Feeling uneven at the edge. The edge is blocked off by miles of ice. Yeah, I mean, it just is. I know I was just saying something and I can't remember what the fuck I was saying when I was walking up the stairs. People go to Antarctica all the time. Yep, they sure do. A bunch of flat earthers and normal scientists went and witnessed a 24-hour sun. Yep. Sure they did. So dumb. Like, to me, it really is like trying to argue again with somebody about Santa Claus. You know? You're like, yeah, but I've seen pictures. You know? How come so many people on the earth believe it's true if it's not true? Well, there's movies made about it and shit. I mean, you know, what about Tim Allen? I actually believed that Tim Allen was Santa Claus. I think he had to take up the role for a couple of years. Do some research instead of looking at pictures online like a child. Yep, do some research. What research should I do? Who provides the research? Whose research should I listen to? Because there's lots of research out there that says contrary to what you claim. But that's not real, I guess. Same place as the moon, Andy. Yeah, that's what I was actually saying. Is you know, how many of you believe that Oswald shot Kennedy? It shouldn't even be that difficult to a thing. It's funny how nobody will answer the question. Do you believe Oswald shot Kennedy? 3 shots, 8 seconds, impossible, magic bullet, blah, blah, blah. You believe that narrative, right? This is one of the best proofs I can come up with. And I think people know it before they even answer, which is why they don't answer. Because they know what I'm going to say. So they try to change the subject. They say dumb shit, whatever it may be, right? But they're not going to answer just a simple, yes, I believe Oswald shot Kennedy. No, I don't believe Oswald shot Kennedy. They do neither. And that's the the truth of it all. Is at the end of the day, you're just an arrogant piece of shit. You really are. The vast majority of you are just arrogant pieces of shit. Especially when it has to do with religious stuff. That's crazy. And it's funny how not only are you arrogant, you're cowardly, you're insecure, you're ignorant, and at the same time you're arrogant. Which isn't something, like, it's not a combination that most people would think is like a possible combination, right? How can you be arrogant and ignorant and insecure and cowardly at the same time? But it's weird because it's like it's unique to a certain type of situation. It's unique to the type of situation that you're like, you're trying to go with the flow. You don't want to be made fun of. Did the fucking comments get shut off again? No. You're arrogant in such a strange way. And I think you know it, but you just won't acknowledge it. I'm thinking the comments got shut off again. Fucking A. Alright, I'll be back again. Hopefully you join me. Pedophiles, kill yourself.